Okay, so we're going to build on the principles that we just went through in the previous videos, and we're going to take this vehicle here and we're going to put it in 3D space. It is a pretty complex vehicle, and so I doubt if I'll be able to draw the whole thing in time for the video, but I'm going to try to pull out at least a few of the elements, um, and you can take those concepts that I show and build out your own vehicles. Okay? All right, so the first thing is, of course, that we have blueprints of this vehicle. And if you look, they line up really well. They're all scaled 1-to-1 to each other. And you want that. You want blueprints that are accurate to each other so that you can use those measurements and everything. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find a uh, a measurable size that I can start breaking these things down into, kind of like creating a plan for these objects. So if I come into, let's say, the side view here, I want to figure out how many units tall versus how many units long it is. All right. And I'm going to grab a guide here and I'm going to drop it right here on the wheels. There we go. Looks like our front tire is a little higher than the others, but we can make that work. It's not a big deal. All right. And then I'm going to grab a guide for the front. I'll probably ignore the bumper for the most part because it's just a small detail that hangs out. And then I'll go ahead and grab a guide for the top, and I'll probably ignore some of these little details up top. Let's grab that bump right there. Again, those are things that I can work in as we go. And then of course one on the back end here. So right there at that gate. Okay, so now I have this box around it, which we'll call our bounding box. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab my proportional divider tool, which I have here, and we'll move it down here. And what I'm doing is I'm going to try to find some even units that I can use here. So if I go ahead and put this point, there we go, this point of our divider right there on that, and then I'm going to scale up until that point is on that one. Then I can see that my middle is right here. So that's going to evenly divide that box in two, which is useful. Okay. We don't have to really get too crazy with any of this stuff. All right. So let me hide my proportional divider. That's really all I needed that for at the moment. And then I'm going to come here and I have basically a box. And so I'm going to go ahead and create just some squares. And we will make it green for this. All right. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to go right from this corner, and I'll just constrain it here. There we go. All right. So that's like 1 unit right there. And I'll go ahead and edit stroke. And I'll do it with just 2 pixels wide. That'll be fine. All right. And so we have this unit here. Okay. And we can use our mirroring kind of tool to create even units across, so we can use the X method, right? So let's go ahead and do that. I'll grab my line tool. We're still in. There we go. And green. And so I'll just do 45 up here and 45 here, which is an even measurement across, like so. And then I can go from the center. Let me just put a guide in there so we can see it. I want to make sure we get it dead even. All right. Right there. Okay, that's pretty close to dead even. Okay. This is one I want to try to be as accurate as possible with. Okay. And then I will just go from this point here, and I'll just go straight across all the way to the bumper here. That's fine. All right. And now that I have that cross point, let me grab one more layer. I'll put these on. And again, I can go right through that point until I reach the top. Right there. All right. And I'll just keep doing that until I reach the end of those boundaries. So what I'm doing is, of course, creating even boxes, right? So again, here to here, like so. And look, it goes right to the corner. So that means that this vehicle is actually 4 units long. Okay. And that's really kind of handy information. So let's come back down to this one. And I don't necessarily want these markers across there. I just want these X's here. So okay. So it looks like somewhere I was a little off with my measuring. So, but the same thing holds true. So edit, stroke, fine, and then I'll go from here, just constrain it. Oops. This one, again, we do want it to be as perfect as we can. All right, so we go edit, stroke, whoops. Let's cancel that. Edit, stroke, okay. And then here, again, to that edge. There we go. So it still worked out. Edit, stroke. Okay. All right, so I have those, and then I'm just gonna duplicate that, and I will transform it up. So I will move that. Whoops, I don't need that. I just need this. So I have that full bar of things. So if I just transform it up 1 until it matches, and you can see that it is 2 units high and 4 units deep. Okay. And that's really, really useful information for us when we go to make the stuff. Now it looks like I do have some cuts down the middle, which is fine. And I'm just going to go ahead and X out these things here. So we want to make sure that they're at 45 degrees, like this. All the way through, just so we have center information here. Okay, like that. Okay. All right, so I think the only place I'm missing is this one, and looks like this one. Okay, so I have this, what we consider the bounding box. This whole vehicle fits within this thing. And let me go ahead and flatten. So I'm going to merge those layers, and I don't need that one. Okay, so I have this whole thing now that I can use to measure the profile of my vehicle. All right, and if let me go ahead and copy that thing. All right, so we know that we're 2 units and 2 units, 2 units and 4 units. And I'm going to go ahead and move this. I want to make sure my vehicle blueprints don't move, though. All right. And I'm going to move it. Nope. Everything but what I want to move is wanting to move. There we go. Down here. And if I get the center of that lattice to line up with the center of my blueprint here, yeah, we can see like that's lining up really, really well. Okay. So now we can see at the top that measurement. Okay. Now, for this, I'm really going to be using, since the front and this side is what I'm going to be seeing in this, because we're going to be at sort of like a 3/4 view. I just want to use mainly this view and this view. I might from time to time look at this view if I need to start working some details and stuff, but I don't think we're going to get there in this assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this lattice from the side view, and I'm going to lay it over the front view. So I'm going to grab it, shift and restrain it until, we should be about 2 units wide, right? And it looks like we are. I want to make sure the center of this runs right up the center of my vehicle. Okay, good. And I don't need the rest of that lattice. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that like that. Okay, so now I have this front view, okay, and I have this side view, and they're going to be very, very useful for it, to us to create our model of our truck. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just grab these two views. This doesn't need to lock on anything because I do want that bumper, even though I said we're going to ignore the bumper, but we will use it. We just didn't want to use it for measuring our stuff. All right, so I'm just going to go Shift Command C, which just copies the whole perceived layers of this, and I'll paste that in there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the front. And what that does is I'm just copying fresh blueprints, basically. I want to make sure I get enough of the top, because in case I do want to do those details in there. Okay. All right. So here I have my side plans. Or I should probably use profile. It's probably a better word than side. So profile plans. And here I have like the front plans. Like that. All right. And those are going to be useful when I start making this vehicle. So let me go ahead and hide all these other plans, which I don't need anymore. But I can always come back to them if I do need them. So let me hide those. And now I have these two, and they have bounding boxes on them. And they are totally editable with what we need. So let me go ahead and get rid of some of these guides that we no longer need, because we don't want to be accidentally snapping to things we don't need to snap to. Okay, that was the center one right there. And this is the center one right there. And this one we don't need either. Okay, so just getting rid of those guides. All right, and let's start moving these plans kind of into place. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to be yet. That's what we're going to figure out next. So I know they're going to have the front probably down here somewhere and the side down here, and they're going to be scaled. They're not quite right in size with what we need. The first thing we need to do is find one of these cubed units in space with where we want our vehicle. And I kind of want this truck to be right down in here, because I want to be able to build out an environment and maybe another larger vehicle back here. So I really just kind of want it here somewhere. Okay. So let's go ahead and start creating some plans. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and grab blue, and I want to figure out where I want the front corner of my vehicle to be. All right. And so I think I kind of want it right here. So the front of my vehicle is going to be parked right here. It's just going to go straight up in space. I don't know how far that's going to go yet. And then we'll go from this corner. And let me go ahead. I'm going to put a guide at the bottom there, because we will actually use that guide. We're going to use this as a measuring line. We talked about measuring lines before. This is my measuring point left. Okay. And then we're going to go back here to my vanishing point. All right. And then we'll go from here to here. Okay. All right. So now we have sort of the profile turn of where this vehicle is going to be. Don't know how high it is yet. I kind of want it to be about this high at its highest. Okay. So I'm just going to visually split the difference. Okay. It's not important just yet. We will get specific after I make this next mark, though. So these two angles, these two planes are now 90 degrees relative to each other in our plane. If my vehicle is going to be right about this high, then I'm probably going to make a cube unit that high. All right, so that is a committed decision. All right, and now we need to make sure we're pretty accurate from here on out. So see, that's already inaccurate because I was too high, too high on that line. So let me go ahead back here again, using all the snapping. We're working pretty small at this point, but that's fine. Boom. Okay, we're getting there. All right, just want to make sure that we're accurate out the gate. Okay, great. Yep, great. All right, so now I need to take the height of this and create a cube using my measuring points. All right, so I'm just going to call this bounding box, lattice, matrix, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it lattice. All right, and then I'm going to create a one called measuring lines. Okay, and we use orange for those. All right, and we know that this is my measuring line, this guide right here, and I'll go ahead and I'm not sure how far out our plan's going to go. We're probably not going to go this far with the front face. It's not likely because we're only 2 units wide, and I'm not sure how far we'll go out with the profile, but also probably not that wide. All right. So we need to go 45 degrees. Remember, when we unfold our box, it's 45 degrees. So we're going to 45 degrees until we hit that measuring line down there and then down here. Okay, so now we have from here to here. If we fold back this line, it'll be our cube in perspective. So I'm going to go from this measuring point up here, measuring point left, until I connect with that point right there. That becomes my vertical. All right, and then we'll go from measuring point right, do the same thing. So this is measuring point right here, until we connect right there. All right, now that becomes where that reaches. Okay, I'm not going to necessarily, create the top of this cube. I just really want the sides. The top will automatically get created once we build out the lattice. All right, so I'm going to come back to my bounding box, and we're going to go for blue right here. And we'll get zoomed in here like this. And make this accurate. So where this crosses right here, we'll go straight up vertical because we're still working in 2-point perspective. And here. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we've got a perfect cube. It does not have its top cap on it. I can put it on it. It's not that important at the moment. What I want to do is I want to go 4 units deep on this and 2 units deep over here. And we'll just use the Xing method. We can use our measuring points, but that would just mean I'd have to like tick off these at even intervals, and we can, but it's easier if I just have like a measuring box. So I'm going to just come to my measuring lines, and we're going to go red on these. Okay, and we'll just use the X method. All right, so I'm going to go from this corner here up to this corner. Okay, and this corner to this corner like this. All right, and then I'm going to use my rubber band tool wherever I put it. I probably clicked it off. Here we go. Vanishing point rubber band tool. Okay, and I'm going to come right across the middle right there like so. Okay, so now I know where these marks need to be. Okay, I'll make sure we are accurate as possible, because if not, it's going to throw everything off. All right, so this is that place where it crosses right there. All right, let's make some marks. So from this corner here, right up through there, till it hits that, and then down like this. Okay. We've got another mark right here. And we'll do it again. So from this corner, right up where it intersects that mark, right there. And then straight down, like that. So we got 3 units deep. And one more. There's that tick right there. And again, we want to go right up through this to right about there. Okay. And then we go from this one straight down like that. All right. So that's the profile of where our vehicle is going to be. All right. And I'll refine this lattice here in blue as soon as I'm done. I just want to make sure I get these first. Okay. And now I can X this off if I need to and find the center, but I already have it here. See, because since this is the center of this cube, and this is going to the left vanishing point, I already have that information. So really all I need to do is mark this point right here. And then create my my diagonal through that mark right here, like this. And then straight down, since we're in 2-point perspective, like that. Okay. So now we're 2 units wide. We're 2 units wide and 4 units deep. And we're half our height. So we still need to go up, right? We still need to go up and create the rest of our bounding box. So let me go ahead and do that. And let's see, how high do I want this to go? Let's go right here. So that's our vertical right there, like that. And if I go from this corner, whoa, easy, through that top point there until it hits this vertical up here, right there. That's our height. Okay, so that's the height of that next unit. All right, and that becomes really easy to measure out now, because now I can actually take my vanishing point tool here like this, and I can start creating all sorts of like lines and stuff. So I'll just go from this point here straight up until I hit that. I'll go from that. Oops, do not need to constrain it until I hit that. Ooh, too low. Boo. There, right there, where those two connect. Okay. And then from this one, I can go straight up like this. All right. And then let's go here. We'll go straight up. And I'm going to mark this right here. All right. So we're basically just building a 2x4x2 scaffolding for our vehicles. Now I can just go straight up with these like this, all the way up. I'm gonna have to redraw them in blue here anyway, and I'm gonna have to get like the midsection, because right now we're just the outside. It's almost like a shipping crate. So if you imagine this as like a shipping crate, this box here, then my entire vehicle can fit in this, right? And that's the point. So let me go ahead back to my blue layer, which is this one. All right, and we can take this measuring one. We can like go ghost it way back, because we don't need all that stuff. And we'll go back to blue. Okay. And I want to get this one in first. Okay. And we'll get, I mean, really any of these, it doesn't really matter. So I can grab this one here, go all the way down, just completely vertical because, again, we are working in 2-point perspective, not 3. Here. Here. And one more. Here, like so. Okay. I grab this top and just go from this point to that point. And I'm actually going to overdraw it as an indicator that this is converging to vanishing point right. So this converges to vanishing point right. Okay. And then let's see. Okay, let me get this over here. So this one all the way down to this point. Okay, good. And then this point all the way up here to the top like this. All right. So far, so good. All right, if I drop out my sort of measuring lines, we can see that we have the superficial expression of 1, 2, 3, 4 of the bounding box that this vehicle would be in, and you can kind of see where this is starting to go. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to get my center here, and to do that, I'm going to need to draw through. Okay, so I'm going to take my rubber band tool. I'm going to park it right here on this corner. And again, we want to make sure we're pretty accurate at this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. And we're going to draw through over here. So let me just go ahead and put a mark right on this line. Doesn't really matter exactly where, because I'm just going to draw through. Actually, let's do this on the measuring line level. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do it over here like this. And let's go back to red for this part. Just trying to keep my final product clean, so it's a little back and forth so that I can do that. All right, and so here's that mark right there, and we're going to shoot to that corner. So back on my measuring lines, I'm going to go from this mark right here. Ooh, make sure I have the right tool. So using my line tool, going from here to that corner right there. All right, so that's going to give us that line. All right, and then we'll do the same thing from the top. So let's go up here. All right, so we're going to grab this one right up here. Again, I'm overdrawing. I'm overdrawing these things. Okay. So if I kind of match where that one was, it would be right up here. So I know I don't need to go that far because I'm only 2 units in. So let me kind of eyeball it, probably like right in here. So I'll just overdraw it to this far. I won't overdraw as far as I did the other one. So I'm just going to overdraw it to right there. All right, so I'm going to go from this point to this corner. Back here, that's this corner. Okay, and those overdrawn lines are going to kind of create that back cage that I need. All right, so let me get the back end. Let's get the back end of the center first, rather than the far back. Because remember, we can use this center here, and then once we have that center, we can mirror it across, right? So the center plane actually becomes a little bit more important than that back plane. And so, All right, so we want to lock that down right there. And we want to mark our target, which is right here. Right here. Okay, that line right there. Because this is the back corner. And maybe we can zoom out just a bit. There we go. That's accurate. And let's go from this point to that point right there. All right, so now we have a bottom sort of cube going on here. And then let's do another one here on the back edge. The back edge. And I'm probably gonna break up this lattice. You know, again, I like to be really as clear as I can. So let's mark this. This is the actual corner, the back corner of that box, actually, right there. So go right to that corner right there. So that's the back end of our lattice of our entire box. Let's go ahead and get the top. So grab this right on that corner. Okay. And now we know where that edge is right there. So if I just go from here, this point here, go straight up until it hits that line. That's the back end of our like shipping container or whatever we want to call it. And that's the midpoint right there. Okay. Great. So now I can go from this corner to this corner. And that's the back end of that box. It's a little bit, again, kind of X-ray vision here. And then we'll go, this is the middle of that shipping container right here. That middle card to right there. Okay, great. All right, so now our little shipping container is 3 dimensions. We see the back sides of these. We do have some divisions we need to make, so let's start doing those, and then I'll actually start breaking up this box into its holding box, and then we'll break it into just that central plane. So again, we can mirror across the plane. Okay, so wow, this little point was doing a lot of work. All right, so we see where that crosses, man, right here at almost our center, which is like right. Again, we want this to be as accurate as possible. So this point right here. Okay, so we go from this point to this point. All right. And then converging right here. And that one is right here, right there. This point to this point. All right, we should have one more. That should create our bottom. All right, so here and here. See, this one's gonna go straight up. This will go straight up too. And so we're gonna go from right here and to this point right there. Okay, so now I've divided the bottom. You can see the bottom there. And now I want to start dividing the middle. And it's fortunate because I have the lines I need to just go ahead and do that. So I'll come here and I'll say where this red line crosses right here, if I just go vertical like this until I hit that center line right there. Okay, that's that center line. Okay, and then this one here, same. Okay, oops, it's right there. All right, and then I should have one more, which is this one right here, going straight up. I can constrain that to perfectly vertical with my shift key in Photoshop. All right, so now I have that central plane and I have it divided into the 4 parts, but I don't have it divided in the middle yet. And so to do that, I'm going to need to take this and plant it right here on this corner. I mean, there's two ways I can do this, but I can either plant it on this corner or I can plant it at the front. Either way, because I'm going to have to divide it up in two different ways. So I need to come this point right here across, and that's going to cut the back wall of my container. So here to here, like that. All right, and then I'm just going to grab this and meet that corner there. So now that back wall is divided into 2 units. So here's a square, and then here's a square. Okay, here. All right, and now I'm going to go and hit this top here. So if I go and I hit this very center square, now we're going to get that middle wall. And again, I will create a duplicate of this center wall just by itself because, all right, so that's where it hits right here. Okay. I don't even have to mark this because it's already marked, but let's put a dot there anyway. Just to make my life a little easier. Okay, so if I take this point right here and I put it right there, that's that middle wall now divided into 2. So I've got this cube, 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 and this cube. All right, so I need to start hitting that back there, and then get these lines across the top here, and we are almost done with the bounding box, other than making it refined and easy to see. Okay, so it looks like I'm a little off somewhere because this point and this point should match. So where am I off? That matches. That matches. That matches. That matches. That matches. Oh, it's right here. Okay, so this right here was overdrawn. That's why. That's the middle. Okay, so it was right. I just misread it. And again, that's one of the things. That's why we want to annotate this stuff so that we are clear, because it's really easy to get lost in all of this mess of lines. Okay, so where do we want to go to? Well, if we look, this is the corner, right? So we really want to go to right here. That's where we want to go to. So let's go ahead and mark that right there. That's the point we're trying to hit. So if we go here, here to there, that's the point we want to hit right there. Okay, so even though my little rubber band tool was slightly off, if I was able to sort of visually correct it, and now I put the tool back on and it's right. So my visual correcting was the right choice. All right, so I just need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more lines, and then I can start building out. So we got this point, and it just hits right there where this meets anyway. So that should be an easy one to draw. So we go from here to here. It's an easy one to draw. That's a coincidence. That doesn't always happen. And then again, here's this cube right here. Let's see where it meets the far wall right here, just shy of this line. So I want to make sure we get that accurate right here. That's where it hits. All right. So we're going to go from this point to that point right there. Okay. And then this one right here. And where does that hit? Again, just shy of that corner. So I can come in right here like that. And then go from this corner to that point right there. All right, so now I've got the tops of all the bottom cubes, which happen to be the bottoms of all the top cubes, right? So now I just need to hit 1, 2, 3 more lines and we're good. So if I just take this point and go right up here to the top right there, And again, we're going to want to make sure we're accurate with it. And we are. Where does it cross this top line? Well, this is the top corner. I want to make sure this is not red as the top corner. This is the top corner. Okay. And so where it crosses, and I could probably just draw from the top. You know, I could probably just go straight up on this and straight up because we don't have the back wall. Yeah, let's do that. That way it'll just be easier for us. It'll be easier for us to see. So I'm going to grab this point right here and do a vertical until it hits this line right there. Okay. And I have another one right here, this one, until it hits this line right here. Okay, so those are just the cubes on the back end. And this one is going to really be like impossible for us to even see because it's back behind that until it hits that wall right there. So that's just, again, that's totally coincidence. Just happens to be the angle that we're at. All right. So now we have the back cubes, 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. All right. 4 right there. 2, 3, 4. That's that back wall right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now I just need to hit these on the top. And I think I have all the information I need to do that. This one I drew through, so this is this angle. So it's going to go from here to here, like that. All right. This one's going to go from here, because this is that back angle right here. That's that line. So from here to here. Okay. Right here, that's the top. So I'm going to go from here to here. And that should be our last line for our entire matrix there. Okay, yeah, that should be it. All right, so that's the entire matrix for our vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and just redraw it in a really nice way. I want to have a center card for that because a lot of the profile of our vehicle is going to be along this center card that we're going to mirror across. And most of our work's going to be done right here on this half. This half is going to be pretty much mirrored over. So I just want to tighten this stuff up, all that mess, right? And get a center card, and then we're good to go. All right, so let me go ahead and grab this, and I'm going to call this the center card right there. You can name it whatever you want. I just happen to be calling it that. And I'm going to make it, should we stick with red? I'll go red with it still. Okay, but it's gonna be, yeah, that's fine. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna take my measuring lines and I'm gonna really lower them down even further here. Okay, and I'm just gonna be basically redraw my center here. So I'm gonna go from this point up, hold shift to constrain it like this. Then I'm going to go from this corner, again, we're going back in space to that corner, and we're going straight up right here. And then we're going to go from this corner back to this corner. All right. So again, that represents that center card that we're going to mirror across. So again, we'll go up here like this. And this one we're going to go like this. Now, do I do this every time I draw a vehicle? No, I do not. But we want to be accurate. So the whole point is, how do we get this accurate in space? And so that's why I'm doing this. All right. And this is really good, like, technical drawing information for you guys. So again, that's going to go through the middle. All right. So if I turn off my measuring lines here, you can see now I have, here's my box in space. All right. And here is my center card in space. All right. I'm not worried about this back end just yet. So I'll go ahead with my bounding box. This is the blue one right here. And I'm just going to draw out the things that define the front cubes. Not worried about the back cubes so much right now. All right. So I'm going to go ahead with this point to this point. Okay. This point to this point. Okay. This point to this point. And this point to this point. this one to this one, this one to this one, and so on and so forth. Got that line, so it's going to be this one to this one, and this one to this one, and one more. Oh, that one went too low. We got to make sure we get it right. This one to that one, all right, and that one to that one. And that should be completely right. Should probably be everything we need. Let me turn off my rubber band tool here. Okay, so I guess I get these little top cubes here. So let me grab that to that, that to that, and that to that. All right, so I have a stack of basically 2x4 cubes. They're also 2x4 behind here, but these are the cubes here in space. They are accurate now, and so I'm going to set up my blueprints to reflect that. Okay, so we want to be able to use those blueprints to accurately draw our vehicle in this space. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my side view here. You guys remember this guy that we made like forever ago, it seems like. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just take this corner. I'm going to snap it down on this corner. Now the top of that line, if you look at it, is along our measuring line that we snapped to the bottom of this corner. All right. Yeah, good. Now I'm going to need probably 2 front pieces. Maybe. No, I won't. I'll just need 1 front piece. I think. If I need another, I can always copy it over. But I'm going to do basically the same thing here, where I'm going to take this front, and I'm going to take its... There we go. I'm going to take its corner and match it to that corner. Okay? Because we're 2 units wide, 2 units high. And I can go ahead, I'm going to take both of these. Oh, that snapped. Do that again. All right, right there, that corner. Okay, now they're lined up. All right, and I'm going to turn both of these onto multiply. Whoops, not color burn, multiply. This one I'm going to put as multiply as well. And that's just so that I can see through. I can see these lines like this. I wouldn't be able to see if I didn't have it on multiply. That's all valuable information. Now, I don't think that these are the right size, so I got to figure out how to scale these things, and we do that with, again, our measuring lines. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this measuring line layer that we already had. Actually, I'll just create a fresh one, a fresh measuring line layer right here, and we'll go back to our orange color. And we want to find out what size of this plan do I need to be. So if I go, let me turn off my plans real quick, like both of them. So if I go from measuring point left, as it governs the left side of this, which is our front of our vehicle, and I go from my measuring point here all the way through this corner until it hits my measuring line, which is that line right there. Okay, so that means that my front view needs to be this wide. Okay, that's how wide it needs to be, is right there. Make sure I got it accurate. Okay, I do. So that's how wide that front view needs to be. Okay, so I'm going to go to my front plans, and you can see it's larger. It's much larger. All right, so let's go ahead and let's transform that front plan. Here we go. And if I scale it from that corner right there, okay, I'm going to scale it down until, well, that didn't work. I should be scaling from this corner right here. All right, let's try that. It's still not, that's fine. I can just, as long as I can get the width in, then I can move things around. That looks pretty good right there. I don't know why it's not conforming to that that origin point. Okay. There. And then there. Okay, and now I can just move it down. All right. So now this vehicle, by using my measuring points, is wide enough that I can start measuring things. Now again, I only have to worry about this half of it. You can see there are details that are different. So we have like this gun here, and there are, you know, asymmetric details, but for the big ideas, this is fine. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing for the right. So we're gonna go back to our measuring point right, and this, I made a pretty thick line, and it's right here where it's like razor hard. That's the actual measuring point. Okay, and I'm gonna go right through this corner until it hits my measuring line, which is right there. Right there. All right, so if I zoom in here, that is the length of it. Okay, so that's the length of it, and we'll test it out here in a minute just to make sure. So if I grab this object, which is my tank, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab it, and I'm gonna shrink it down. There's that back end over there, and then we want the front end to be there. And I think we're getting pretty close. Now you'll look and see that in profile they should be pretty close. Looks like they're actually really close. Well, it looks like the one on the side is a little bit bigger. All right. There we go. Okay, so now we're gonna test it out. All right, so that is right. Okay, so now we're gonna test it out to see how accurate we are. All right, so I'm gonna okay. I drew that measuring line on those plans. Oh, good thing I don't have to move them. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock my plans down like that. All right, so I'm gonna test my measuring point, make sure that it's right. All right, so I'm gonna go from this one here, and we'll go through this point, so that point right here, until it hits the measuring line, and look, yep, that's accurate. So we'll just do that to the other two, just to make sure that they're all accurate. And yep, that one's accurate. Okay. And I really don't need it. Like, I already know it's going to be accurate, but again, we're just checking just to prove the point. All right, so if I go through my measuring points and I hit these bottom things, these quartered off cubes, you can see how they hit the cubes as represented in the profile. And so that means they're accurate. That means that I can start taking details up and across, you know, wherever they need to be, and transfer them into my lattice. Okay, so let's do it from the measuring point left one more time. We'll go right through the middle there, and yep, that's accurate. Okay, so now both of these views of this vehicle are accurate to our plans, even though if you look, they're not one-to-one scale anymore. Okay, but they are accurate for this space. All right, and that means that we can now use them to start drawing in our plans. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to show how to start transferring this data information. We'll draw the front wheel up in here in space, and I'll try to get the hood, the headlights, and the window here all worked out in 3D space, and I'll try to mirror them across for the final demo so you guys can see how this is done. So it does take time, and this is precision, and it's maybe not as fun as you're used to drawing, but it is about accuracy and creating something that's believable. Okay, there you go.